Praise be to God. In the last two sessions, we had gone through the introduction to the seven churches of Revelation as well as the detailed study of the Ephesus church. In this presentation, we will study the church at Smyrna. This church is also known as the Persecuted church. It is a faithful church which stood the intense persecution from the Jews and Romans. Also, the church withstood satanic or demonic forces, and Jesus promises the crown of life to the faithful. The church at Smyrna existed between the period of 1st and 3rd century AD. Smyrna means myrrh or perfume. Smyrna was a major seaport city, one among the main cities of Asia Minor, and was located 35 miles north of Ephesus. It is a city that still exists with the largest Christian population in Turkey and is currently known by the name Izmir. The city was laid waste for around 400 years when the Lydian king attacked it around 600 BC. And thereafter Alexander rebuilt it as a great trading city. The city was an exclusive source for trading of myrrh, which was a perfume associated with suffering and death. It was used by the living and also for the dead during burial. The city is also known for schools of science and medicine. This picture shows the remains of the agora or marketplace as it stands today. Originally built in the 4th century BC, it was ruined by an earthquake and rebuilt in 178 AD. It was the center of life in ancient Smyrna. Currently, it is a World Heritage Site. Jesus deals with the church at Smyrna. Smyrna was a magnificent city laid waste for 400 years, yet came back to life. Jesus presents himself as the one who was dead but is now alive, or the one who is the first and the last, or the Alpha and Omega. Jesus commends this church for holding on to faith in spite of persecution and calamities. They were poor yet spiritually rich. They were a kind of outcasts among the Jews and the Romans and suffered persecution under them. The church thrived in spite of satanic or demonic oppressions. History records that many were imprisoned and martyred for the name of the Lord. Jesus exhorts them not to fear. Smyrna was also called the crown of Asia. The city stood in between a crown of hills and also was a magnificent city. Here, Jesus offers the crown of life for those believers who stand faithful to Him. Jesus does not have any warning for this church, but reminds them of the glory that awaits them. This picture shows Smyrna or Izmir as it is currently called and is one among the major cities of Turkey in these times. The Christian population in Turkey dwindled from 25% in 1914 to less than 2% currently. So, what is the relevance of this message for us? Smyrna reminds us not to fear, for fear inhibits love, rejoicing, glorifying, and thanking God. Isaiah 41 verse 10 says, "Fear not, I am with you." Also, Jesus Christ is the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last. He is able to help us endure persecution and satanic opposition as He Himself suffered in this world. Persecution brings about a rare fragrance, which is sweet smelling aroma to the Lord. Smyrna also gives us a call to be faithful to the Lord till the end. The church thrived in spite of satanic or demonic oppressions. Here we see an omnipotent, an omniscient, and an omnipresent God who acknowledges the suffering and encourages us to live for Him. And finally, Jesus says, "He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches." This message of the Lord Jesus transcends time and is for anyone who wants to live a life of faithfulness and devotion to Him and receive the crown of life. So, what is the prophetic implications of the church at Smyrna? Smyrna is also called the persecuted church and reveals historically the oppressed or the suffering church, a period of great suffering, imprisonment, and martyrdom under the Romans between the period of 1st century to 3rd century AD. The most severe persecution for about 10 years was from 303 AD to 313 AD under Emperor Diocletian. Jesus mentions the tribulation of 10 days in Revelation 2, and prophetically, one day is equivalent to 1 year. And you can understand the time period from this message. Also, it is symbolic to note that the three wise men brought myrrh when Jesus was born, and when he died, he was embalmed with myrrh. Polycarp was one of the earlier bishops of Smyrna who was martyred for the sake of the Lord. Smyrna also reveals a type of church or a group of believers persecuted all throughout history. With this, we come to the end of the part 3 of this series. In the next study, we will go through the church of Pergamus or Pergamum. Praise be to God.